This video is for educational purposes only.
I said, I'm scared. I was told that if I didn't do something, my family would be in danger.
Came upon a 12-year-old female. She appears to be stabbed.
She appears to be what?
Stabbed.
Stabbed?
Correct.
No one would have believed it if you said that Slender Man, a faceless figure of nightmares, had come to life to attack young Peyton Leitner. But on May 31st, 2014, in the quiet town of Waukesha, Wisconsin, Anissa and Morgan, two 12-year-old girls, lured Peyton into a secluded woodland area and stabbed her 19 times in an attempt to kill her.
I shouldn't be alive. I really shouldn't after what happened.
Their motive? To sacrifice her to the fictional character Slender Man. What started as an online story created to stir up fear and suspense took on a terrifying reality in the minds of Anissa and Morgan. This is the tragic story of a girl who came face to face with a nightmare brought to life by her own friends.
I didn't want to do this. I was afraid of what would happen if I did.
In the heartland of America lies the town of Waukesha, Wisconsin, a picturesque place where tree-lined streets meet manicured lawns. It was here that the lives of three young girls intersected. Peyton Leitner first met Morgan Geyser at school. Noticing that Morgan was usually alone, Peyton decided to approach her, and soon they became friends.
I made friends with her when I saw that she didn't have any friends at all.
Their friendship was truly the epitome of childhood innocence, the kind that is only formed in playgrounds and classrooms. However, this bond began to strain when Anissa Wire joined their school in the 6th grade. Anissa and Morgan quickly became friends, and it was around this time that Peyton noticed a shift in their friendship and when things went downhill. As their friendships evolved, so did their interests, which led them to Slender Man. Originating from internet forums, Slender Man was the creation of a photo editing contest to design the most terrifying paranormal creature. Eric Knudsen was its creator, and it quickly gained popularity, terrifying users with his ominous appearance and chilling backstory. Morgan and Anissa found themselves drawn to Slender Man. They began to become immersed in all the tales that surrounded him, reading and discussing every detail, and soon their fascination turned into obsession. Peyton, for her part, tried to understand her friend's fixation with the character. She found Slender Man unsettling, but she chose to support her friends, hoping it wouldn't come between their friendship. Oh, but how wrong she would be. Peyton could not shake the uneasiness that the whole thing brought with it. Seeing the changes in her friend, especially Morgan, was alarming. The once innocent friendship was now stained with the existence of Slender Man. The shift was so noticeable that Peyton started to think that perhaps it was time to let the friendship go, especially because of Morgan. At this point, she was beginning to miss the days of their light-hearted sleepovers and whispered secrets that weren't laced with fear. But little did she know that the worst was only yet to come. As the fascination with Slender Man continued to grow within Anissa and Morgan, their perception of reality started to distort. They started to believe in Slender Man as more than just a scary story from the internet. To them, he was very real. He was an actual entity that they could serve. They began to believe in a mythical mansion in the woods, where they thought they could live as his servants. In their minds, Slender Man promised power and protection. They started crafting a dark plan, a plan that they believed would not only prove their loyalty to Slender Man, but also protect their families from his wrath. And how would they prove their allegiance? By committing a sacrifice. Their target was clear: Peyton. They began collecting items that they would need. The list was simple but grim: a knife, a pepper spray for defense, and a first aid kit. Items that were easy to hide and easy to explain.
This is their supply list. Notice the kitchen knife?
The idea that their actions could save their families from a perceived threat gave their sinister plan a horrifying sense of purpose. All the while, Peyton was blindsided to what was about to happen. The stage was set. The plan crafted by Anissa and Morgan was in motion. The date? May 30, 2014, a Friday. This was supposed to be a day filled with joy and fun as the three girls were going to celebrate Morgan's birthday with a sleepover. They planned to roller skate and eat pizza. It was meant to be a normal night of kid-friendly fun, but Peyton had no idea of the hidden truth. The next day, they decided to go to the park. The sun was out, and there were kids playing everywhere. It looked like a great day for a walk, or at least, that's what it seemed. The initial attack began in the park bathroom, where Anissa tried to knock Peyton out. Peyton, surprised and upset, still decided to stay with her friends even though they had just tried to hurt her. Little did she know that this was just the beginning. Anissa and Morgan then led Peyton into the woods, deeper into the trap they had set. Here, surrounded by trees, their horrible plan was about to happen.
Anissa told me to lie on the ground and cover myself in sticks and leaves and stuff, but it was really just a trick.
The exact details of what happened next are not clear because Anissa and Morgan blamed each other when the police asked them questions. However, the terrifying fact remains that it was Morgan who wielded the kitchen knife, and it was Peyton who was stabbed 19 times while Anissa watched. I have wanted to hurt people before, but they're not nice to me, so they deserved it, Morgan chillingly revealed to a detective later. But Peyton, who had been kind enough to become her friend, certainly did not deserve this. As she lay hurt and fighting for her life in the forest, Anissa and Morgan promised they would go find help, but this was just another lie in their dreadful plan. As soon as they were out of sight, they simply ran off, leaving Peyton alone and seriously injured in the woods. It was the final betrayal. But Peyton, despite her terrible ordeal, wasn't ready to give up. She forced herself onto her hands and knees, dragging herself through the woods towards a nearby road. She knew this was her only chance to find help, to stay alive. Meanwhile, as Peyton struggled for her life, a man named Greg Steinberg was enjoying a peaceful Saturday morning bike ride when something caught his eye. At the edge of the woods, there was movement. He squinted, trying to understand what he was seeing. And then he saw her, a figure crawling out of the woods, bloody and weak. As he got closer, he realized with a sickening feeling that it was a little girl. It was Peyton. She was alive, but just barely. A flood of emotions hit him. Shock, fear, confusion. But there was no time for that. He knew he had to act fast. He jumped off his bike, rushing to Peyton's side, pulling out his phone and calling 911. He reassured her that help was coming, all the while trying to comprehend the scene before him. Peyton was stabbed 19 times in total, on her chest, stomach, arms, and legs. The wounds were severe. She was taken to the hospital and put into an intensive care as she fought for her life, and the scars from the attack began to show, both on her body and in her mind. As she laid in the hospital, the reality of what had happened became clear. Her best friends had tried to kill her.
Like you're a survivor?
Yeah, I shouldn't be alive. I really shouldn't after what happened.
Throughout her recovery, Peyton received extensive medical care, including therapy, to help heal the mental wounds left by the traumatic event. Her strength and drive were visible as she went through rehabilitation and slowly improved physically and mentally. As Peyton's body fought to recover from the awful attack, the police began to put together the troubling and gruesome events that had taken place. A few hours later, Anissa and Morgan were found walking along Interstate 94, with the knife used in the attack in their bag. They were on their way to find Slender Man, who they believed was at Wisconsin's Nicollet National Forest. They were arrested without any problem, and the town of Waukesha let out a collective sigh of relief. As Anissa and Morgan sat in police custody, their solid belief in Slender Man began to unfold in all its frightening detail. They insisted they had to kill Peyton as a tribute to Slender Man, to become his proxies and protect their families from him. The trial was a war zone. The prosecution claimed that Anissa and Morgan had planned the attack far in advance, showing their gathering of the murder weapons and the detailed account of the attack. The act was planned and cruel, and the prosecution argued for them to be tried as adults. On the other hand, the defense asked for mercy because of the girl's age and mental health. They stressed that Anissa and Morgan had been caught in a dangerous fantasy and didn't fully understand what would happen because of their actions. They pointed out that the girls were deeply influenced by the Slender Man stories, and their actions were influenced by their twisted view of reality. They argued that the girls needed psychiatric help, not a tough punishment. The public watched in disbelief. The fact that such young girls could be influenced by an internet story to commit such a horrible act was shocking. As the trial progressed, the details of Anissa and Morgan's mental health began to emerge. They were evaluated by several psychologists who found them to be mentally ill. Anissa was diagnosed with shared delusional disorder, a condition where delusional beliefs are transmitted from one person to another, in this case, Morgan. Morgan, on the other hand, was diagnosed with early-onset schizophrenia. The realization that two young girls had fallen prey to severe mental illness sparked a wave of discussions and debates on the need for better mental health care for young people. Furthermore, it raised critical questions about the influence of internet culture and the responsibility of parental control over the content their children access online. Finally, the verdict was reached. Given their age and mental health conditions, both girls were found not guilty by reason of mental disease or defect. In December 2017, Anissa got the maximum sentence of 25 years to life in a mental health facility after pleading guilty to being a partner in a second-degree murder. Morgan was sentenced to 40 years to life in a mental hospital in February 2018, after she pleaded guilty to attempted first-degree intentional murder. On July 1st, 2021, Waukesha County Judge Michael Boren ordered Anissa Weier to be released from the Winnebago Mental Health Institute. He gave state officials 60 days to come up with a conditional release plan, and he said that Weier must be given a State Department of Health Services case manager to keep track of her progress until she is 37 years old, which is the length of her commitment. Anissa was set free on September 13, 2021, but she couldn't leave Waukesha County without permission and had to wear a GPS tracker around the clock. Weier's internet use will also be watched, and she won't be able to use any social media. Weier will also need medications, and a caseworker will accompany her to frequent counseling sessions. Also, she will have to live with her father throughout her probation. The case had a profound impact on society, revealing the potential dangers and influence of internet culture, parental control, and the dire need for awareness and treatment of mental health in young people. Will Peyton ever be the same?